Chapter 12. The first notes of a soft melody filled the quiet expanse of the private terrace, the distant hum of Mumbai's city life barely reaching this hidden sanctuary. The evening air was cool, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the nearby garden. Fairy lights twinkled above, casting a golden glow over the space where Aditya Singhania stood waiting. Tonight, everything would change. He had spent weeks planning this moment. Not because he needed it to be perfect, but because she deserved nothing less. When the doors to the terrace finally opened, Naina Kapoor stepped into the light. She froze at the sight before her. A grand piano sat at the center, its black surface gleaming under the soft lights. Candles flickered along the edges of the terrace, and in the background, the city stretched endlessly, a reminder of where their journey had begun. Aditya stood beside the piano, his gaze fixed only on her. Naina took a slow breath, her heart racing. "Aditya, what is all this?" He said nothing at first. Instead, he gestured toward the piano, then sat on the bench. And then he played. The first hesitant notes of a familiar tune filled the air. A song she recognized, a melody woven into their story. It was the music from their first rooftop dance, the night when everything had shifted between them. Aditya's fingers moved over the keys with a careful, practiced grace. And for the first time, she saw him not as the billionaire businessman, but as the boy who had once been told to put away his dreams. When he finished, silence stretched between them, heavy with emotion. Naina stepped forward, her voice barely a whisper. "You remembered." Aditya looked up, his eyes filled with something deep and unshakable. "I remember everything about you." She swallowed hard, overwhelmed. "Aditya." But before she could speak, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The world seemed to stop. Naina's breath caught as he slowly stood and met her gaze. "I spent years thinking I had everything," he said quietly. "Money, power, control. But then you came into my life and showed me what I was missing." Her eyes burned, emotion threatening to spill over. "I don't want a life where you're just a part of it, Naina," he continued. "I want a life that we create together. One where your dreams and mine aren't separate but intertwined." He opened the box, revealing a delicate ring. Not flashy, not ostentatious, but something simple, elegant, and uniquely hers. "Marry me," Aditya said, his voice unsteady for the first time. "Not because it's expected, not because it's easy, but because I love you. And I will spend every day proving that I deserve you." A single tear slipped down Naina's cheek. For so long, she had believed love came at a cost. That choosing her dreams meant sacrificing companionship. That falling for a man like Aditya meant losing herself. But here he was proving her wrong. She let out a shaky breath, then whispered, "Yes." Aditya exhaled in relief, a rare, genuine smile breaking across his face. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, he whispered, "You have no idea how long I've waited to hear that." And when he kissed her, it felt like coming home. The wedding was unlike anything Mumbai had ever seen. Not because of its grandeur, though it was breathtaking, but because it was a true fusion of two worlds. The venue was an open-air amphitheater, transformed into an ethereal blend of traditional Indian elegance and modern artistry. Strings of marigolds wove through the aisles, their fragrance mixing with the scent of sandalwood incense. Fairy lights cascaded down from the domed ceilings, mimicking the stars above. At the heart of it all, a stage had been built, not for vows, but for a performance. Because, in true Naina Kapoor fashion, her wedding would begin with dance. As the guests took their seats, the first notes of a haunting melody echoed through the air. Then, Naina stepped onto the stage. She moved with the grace of a woman who had found everything she had ever wanted. Not just success, not just recognition, but a love that honored every part of her. And as she danced, Aditya watched from the front row, completely and utterly mesmerized. She had once told him that dance was about storytelling, about emotions too deep for words. And today, she was telling their story. A story of battles fought, of barriers broken, of love that had survived against all odds. When she finally reached the end of her performance, she turned toward him, breathless, eyes shining. Aditya stood, stepping onto the stage. The priest began the wedding rituals. And as they exchanged vows, Aditya whispered, "Are you sure you're ready for a lifetime of putting up with me?" Naina smirked. I think you'll find I'm not so easy to handle, Mr. Singhania. His fingers laced through hers. I wouldn't have it any other way. As the ceremony concluded, as they took their final vows under the star-strewn sky, Naina knew this wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning of their symphony.